Today we have Michelle Spalding on Reebok's Power On, and we cannot be more excited. Now, Michelle is a published author, and she has an upcoming book that we can't wait to hear about, but she's also an amazing business owner. So we're going to dive into how she got started, what kept her going, and what's to come. Tell us how you got started in the TC world.
How I got started in the TC world. That's a really, really good question. I was thinking about that this morning as I was waking up, like, how did I get into this mess, knowing that we were going to have this call, or this interesting mess? It's a beautiful mess, like the song says. But the real truth of the matter was I worked at a law firm in downtown Orlando. And in my work there at the law firm, we used paper, we used files, and it was a hot mess. And we were in a time where the real estate market was doing a ton of refis. There was a boom going on, this was '04. I started researching a solution to the problem we were having in the office. I did closings, I did settlement statements, and, felt like I spent a lot of time looking for the information that I needed. And I figured there had to be a better way. In the same time, I came across a term I'd never heard before, transaction coordinator. We didn't have those on the East Coast. We didn't have those in Florida. And as I was researching the software, I realized so many of the agents that I had worked with in the firm who brought their transactions to us for closing were struggling in their business. And so I began to really just ask questions about what was going on in the agent's business when I had time in talking with him. And I just began to do research on this word that I'd never heard, this topic, this career that I'd never heard. And, the interesting part about it is after amassing all of this research, coming up with, I thought, a good business idea, I went and met with my employer. I'd worked with him for almost 10 years at that point. And I told him about this cool idea I had to start a transaction coordinating company in the Central Florida area. And I went through, as quickly as I could, some of the bullet points on it. Long story short, within 10 minutes, he told me to get out of his office and go find a file, whatever it was, the particular one he was looking for. And I remember feeling so defeated, but at the very same time going, no, there's a need for this. Like, I'm going to do this. And, the need for me personally, in addition to that, came from, I wasn't, home with my kids as much as I wanted to be. I worked 60 easy, 70 hours a week sometimes for a man who, bless his heart, that's about all I can say nice about it, would call us that left in time to get our kids often slackers.
Let's just establish right now to anybody that's not from the South what bless your heart actually means.
He's got a couple
throw
different,
that out there, okay? I live in South Carolina 6 months out of the year. I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, y'all look it up. There's probably a whole website that can teach you the tone behind it can dictate the meaning behind it. Let's just leave it at that. So anyways, I decided that, I didn't feel like I was in a place anymore where I could be the mom that I wanted to be to the 3 kids that I had. And that this was sort of, I think, a gift that came to me, this idea that I'd never even heard of. And I set about in October of '05 to be a transaction coordinator and have a transaction coordinating business.
I just love, I've heard this story.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I love the most, and one thing one of the reasons I'm so excited to have you on this is that you and I are very close in age. And I think the telecommuting, the remote, the staying home with your kids is so much more accepted now than when we were working and when we were raising our families. That slacker comment, I remember when my kids would be sick, and trying to get a day off, I was always looked down on. Very few cases did I have an employer where that was okay for me to be a mom and a professional. It was almost like I was always picking between the two. And so that's something that I really love about your story, because it's in my heart as well, is, we didn't have these options then. We were making these options. We were creating these options and saying, and I don't know about you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's a moment of terror when you have this really great idea, but it's so radical. You know, I'm going to work from home. I'm not going to go to an office, which now everybody's like, well, super cool. That's a perk. But when we were doing this, it wasn't super cool. You know, it was terrifying.
It was. You know, I want to just touch one thing. I was telling my daughter last night the story about working for somebody who didn't respect that you had children. And, you know, it was no surprise. I had two when I went to work for him, a third one while I was there. I remember calling one day and telling him my daughter had pink, my son had pink eye, I'm sorry. And telling him that I didn't, you know, I needed to be home for him. And him saying, well, do you have it?
Yep.
No, I don't think so. He said, and so you're not coming in today? Like, my kid's got pink eye. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, bring him in so you can get it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was, but you know, I was young. I was 25. I didn't know any better. 27. I didn't know any better. But yeah, making the leap to working from home was huge. And, you know, the funny part about it, when I started, I didn't want people to know that I worked at home.
Yep.
Because I didn't think they would respect or value what I brought to the table or could bring to the table. So I left a corporate environment to come home and try to like create that in my little tiny, you know, Harry Potter size office before I took over the family room. And even then, it still was a very corporate environment sort of feel.
Yeah. I went through that in a big way. When I left college, I immediately went into the MBA, went into my dream career. I showed up in a suit every single day. And that was that's been my mindset since I was 14 years old, over professionalism. And so same thing, when I quit the corporate world and entered this world of virtual, I had just a personal struggle of sharing that and being open with that with my clients, because I felt like I was lacking. And I don't think that's around now. And that was just 5 years ago. So even just in the last 5 years, how much has changed kind of blows my mind as people, you know, when I tell them I work from home or work from I sometimes go down to different offices that I'll rent out. Back then it was, oh, you're not legit.
Yes.
Now I don't think that's as much of a stigma. But I fought that really hard, so I can relate.
Yeah. I think the other part of that is that I have felt over the years two things with respect to that. One, that like sometimes my family and my friends didn't respect where, like, you know, this is a job, I'm doing a thing, I have to be available to, you know, or committed to the hours that I have available. But then I would also get a lot of comments, well, gosh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
You know, as if luck, I mean, I'm sure luck had a lot to do with it, but it was a lot of sweat and grind and hustle and tears and more tears and screaming. And that happened last week. I mean, that's just, it never goes away.
No. And I love that. But one of the things I love about you, and I've talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different business owners in our world. And the thing that just was so apparent when I spoke to you the first time is that you are you unashamed. This is who I am. This is what I do. And you're like, yeah, I just screamed. I maybe cried the other day. It was really frustrating. And there's no shame in that. It's just it's transparent. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I do. And this is how I do it. And I love that. I love that confidence. And that's something that I want anyone listening to this, whether you're male or female, or I don't care where you live or what you're doing, you have control over your life. You have control over who you are, and be confident in that. Stand up and be proud of that. And that's something that I admire in you. And I just love, it's one of my favorite qualities.
You're sweet. You're sweet. So I'll send you a Starbucks gift card for that compliment.
Ooh, okay. I'll take it. I'll take the Starbucks gift card.
Up here. What the heck? I'm slacking.
I'm just teasing you. I think though that it's not just transparency, it's authenticity. And I think our world craves it right now, in a world where it's so easy to snap a photo of being in a big, great, big, giant house. It's not yours. It's something that you rented on Airbnb for the day so you could do a photo shoot. Like,
absolutely,
it's not authenticity. That's you pretending.
No, I love that. And we talk about that actually quite a bit, because we have a marketing company, we have a marketing agency. And when we talk about the voice of Reeboks, or the voice of our companies or anything else, that is a piece of it, right? Because
Absolutely.
you want to be authentic, and yet we do live in a world where, you know, Instagram, you have how many different filters, you have how many different ways, you have these people who go, you know, take a selfie, just woke up in the morning and they have perfect makeup, coffee in hand, absolutely gorgeous. No, like my hair's going here, there, and everywhere. I got a dog right here. I got a kid foot here. You know, I mean, that's my life. So I think it is, I think just like you said, people crave authenticity because it's become so rare.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at the world through these filters, and that's not the reality.
I think my dad said it best when he said, if you tell the truth, you'll never have to remember what you said.
Yep.
Yep.
And so when you go places, you don't ever have to remember how to act. You just act yourself. You just be yourself. Now, I'm not saying, you know, I spew all the obscenities that I can definitely spew in the presence of people that I don't know, but yet I'm not really much different.
Yeah. Agreed.
So Michelle,
Agreed.
when you made that switch, what made you decide to start your own business versus seek out maybe another transaction coordinating company and work for them?
Well, first of all, that was an unheard of term where I lived. Even when I began the company, I had to educate real estate agents as to what a TC was, what they could do, how they could help. I had to sort of figure it out. There wasn't anybody in my community to partner with. Interestingly, though, you know, this same person who didn't want to join me, who thought my idea was stupid and didn't want to bring this into the firm, I thought I needed to go into business with him to be successful. And I think what really prompted me to do it on my own was him saying my idea was stupid. And me having red hair going, oh, really? Watch this.
What were the three probably scariest things in making that leap? I mean, we're talking, you know, first thing that comes to my mind, financial is a huge one. You know, what were your top three?
For sure, the financial. I had 3 children. I still have 3 children, but I had 3 young children at the time. And there were certain obligations that my income needed to meet in our family. So for sure, the financial. I think the other biggest struggle was self-doubt. While I really felt like I could do it, there was that monkey in my mind that was saying, oh, but you can't do it by yourself, or it's going to be so much harder than this, or, you know, just that mind chatter, I would absolutely say was another really big, scary struggle and that I dealt with. And then, you know, knowing, do I even know how to do this? Like, how am I going to be able to share with people what it is that I do when this is not even a word that is a part of the language that they speak?
How did you first explain what a transaction coordinator was to everybody in your community that had no idea what in the world you were talking about?
Oh,
well, what was that initial pitch?
Awful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Horrible and awful. I shared this story the other day with someone. I was invited to speak at a local real estate office. And the invitation came from the fiance of someone on the other side of the deal that I had worked on. And so she saw firsthand what I did, the value that I brought to the transaction, the knowledge that I had, and introduced me to somebody. They asked me to come and speak at their office. And I said yes before I realized I had no idea what I was going to say, how those kind of meetings went, any of those kind of things. So I put on my suit because I just came from corporate America and my little high heels, and I carted myself into this meeting. And just before me in this meeting was the insurance guy in town who put on nothing less than a pep rally. He was handing out gift cards and he had people cheering and standing on the chairs. And then I come up in my suit and start telling them, when you send a file to us, then here's what we do, and here's what we do, and here's what we do. And thank God the team leader who invited me in began to ask me questions and then like jumped in and explained to these people what happened. But I swear, I mean, I was drenched when I left there from sweating so much. It was the worst experience ever. I will then say, eventually, over time, I learned that it wasn't as much what I do, but the results that my clients got that was way more important of a conversation. But yeah, I did it all wrong to start with. Oh, absolutely.
Love it.
Heading into, and Jen has filled me in. I know it's the first time you and I have been able to meet, but
Yeah.
Jen's filled me in a little bit about your passions. So one of the things that I want to dive into with you is women in business. You know, obviously things have changed so much, still not enough, but being a woman in business in the TC world, do you think there's any advantages or disadvantages to what we do, specifically in our industry compared to men?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple of things, advantages, or at least I'm taking them as advantages, because much of what we do is mothering and not smothering, but mothering.
Yeah.
And so from contract to close, there's a lot of herding stuff to get it to go where it needs to go. And I think that women, that's a natural tendency for us, for a lot of us, I should say. So I definitely feel like that's an advantage, but I think it's also something that can be taught and learned. And, with the right task list, somebody could bring that skill to the transaction. What I would say, though, a disadvantage might be is, and I'm going to try to be as tactful as I can.
We want the no filter version.
That we're the help. Or that there's we're not as skilled, we're not as talented, we're not as driven, we're not we're good at this and this is what we're good at. And perhaps part of that comes from being in an environment where I was told I was overlooked for a promotion because the other person in my firm had a wife and a kid at home.
Yep.
And I had a husband and three kids. I can't remember at the time what it was, but that didn't matter. We weren't equals.
Yep.
And so I think, as a woman in business, there's I need to be a woman. I need to be a mother to my children if I have children, and I need to show up in that role. But I also have to fight really hard for that equality that, I'm just as smart as you, maybe even smarter at some things, but no better. Let's be equals. I don't need to be better than you. Let's just focus on what we need to focus on to create the best experience we can for all the people involved in the process.
Right. Yeah.
So any women out there that are looking to start their own business, whether it's in this industry or another, what are just a couple top tips that you would recommend for them, whether it's mentally, physically, in the business world, to get started, to kind of go forth and conquer?
Well, probably the number one thing is save more than you think you'll need. It's like building a house or doing a renovation project. It takes way longer to make the income that you want, and you end up spending way more than you expected. So that's my number one, have some money to live off of, because people smell desperation. And I've been working as a coach with a lot of people over the years who have had to change things in their business because they didn't have, that going into it. And, they had no boundaries, no structure. They would just do anything for everybody and not get paid enough for it because some money was better than no money. And it just became a train wreck. So definitely have more than you need. I would say a good support system of some sort outside of your family or your closest friends that aren't business owners. One of the biggest struggles that I had early on was well-meaning friends who would tell me about job opportunities, only because they saw how hard I was working.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good now. I have, work far fewer hours than I did when I started. And yesterday afternoon, my granddaughter was over and, we hung out today. It was almost 50 and the sun was out. We were outside. It was beautiful. And so I would absolutely say, what shifted for me was finding a mastermind group and a core group of business owners, women specifically, who I could bring not only struggles to, but celebrations. I'm really huge with my clients about celebrating. And as, business women, I think we have a tendency to, as people, to really focus on what I still need to do. Because I've got to hustle, I've got to work, I've got to grind, I've got to prove myself. And, having a group that you can go to say, I just signed up 3 people last week.
Yeah.
And then like them to celebrate authentically with you, like genuinely with you, because they want you to succeed. It's not that our families don't want to see us struggle.
Right.
So those are my top 2. And then I think the last one would be do whatever you can to incorporate self-care into your life, and not the, bubble bath Instagram stuff. Not that that's not a good idea. I love taking a bath. However, like genuine, like rituals to really help prepare you for your day, because it can be a battle at times, the monkey mind. And so whatever you can do to really help prepare you for the day ahead, meditation, journaling, walking, whatever it is that works for you, but make that a priority. Make that a priority.
Working smarter, not harder, is something that, I hear all the time, and sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't, just depending on the week. But I see a lot of young business owners, myself, Jen, I don't know, I'm sure, Michelle, you've been there. We just work ourselves
I'm
to
just
the bone.
not young anymore.
You're still young. You're still young.
Okay, Starbucks gift card coming to you.
I knew I was going to get one. I knew it.
All right, sorry.
So thinking about starting a business, working yourself to the bone, tell us how many hours per week. And this is leading into the fact that we're going to talk about everything that you do. And I'm just curious.
It's been an evolution, to be honest with you. Early on in my business, again, leaving that environment of, the slacker mentality, I brought that energy with me, and I didn't even mean to, but I thought that was what you had to do. And there was a breaking point for me a long time ago. I think my daughter was about 10. She's now 20, almost 21. But when she came to me and asked me for my credit card because she wanted to order pizza for us because it was late and she wanted to help. I know, right? If that doesn't make you cry. But it was, it was then that I realized, like, shit, I'm making a mess of this. And it wasn't that I wasn't working smart. It's that I thought hard work equated success.
Yes.
But smart work equated success. And so what I had to do was really get clear on what was the most important thing to me. I don't have the biggest company, and I've actually scaled back some things in recent years in order to free my time up to do other things that delight and excite me. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who lives 15 minutes from me. I spend Monday and Wednesday afternoons with her because I want to. One day she'll be a teenager. She won't have anything to do with me except for my checkbook. However, those are really important to me. So I know that's a long, rambling answer for you, but I think going into it, when we have a vision for how we want our life to be, we can create a business that supports that. And I'm not talking $1 million mansions and Maseratis, I'm talking how you want to feel.
Yes.
If we don't focus on how we want to feel, what we want to have in our lives, experiences, then we become like this tumbleweed that just, rolls around and we're never happy. I'm pretty happy right now, aside from the cold weather where I live, but I have some freedom and flexibility, but I have a lot of obligations and commitments too. It's not, it's not all the time at the beach doing nothing.
No, but you hit the nail on the head. And we've talked about this before, is that if you are going to work as hard as you need to in order to build a business, because I don't care if you're male or female, building a business is hard. There's a reason not everybody does it. So if you're going to work that hard and you're going to be that person who has their butt on the line for everything, there should be a reward. And And that reward is a life that you want. So if you want to work 80 hours a week and never see your family and do that, then that's great. That's your choice. But if you started this business because you wanted a better life, or like for you and I, we wanted to see our families, we wanted to be the moms, you know, then do that. Don't lose sight of that. Don't get so much in that daily grind that you forget that's why you did this. And I definitely am guilty of doing that. You know, I'm guilty of getting caught up in that bigger, badder, more, you know, cycle. And then when you stop, you go, oh, wait a second. This isn't why I started this. This isn't, I veered off, you know? And I think that's something that's so powerful, is kind of, I guess my question is, there's a question in there. How do you reorient yourself? Because I know you're a very driven woman. You have a lot of amazing goals that can very easily consume your day. And yet you have this commitment to your granddaughter, to your family that I love. How do you pull yourself back when you want to go, you know, down that grind trail?
I think part of that comes from focusing more on your vision and less on what other people are doing. And it's really easy to get distracted by what might look like the competition. And that goes back to our conversation earlier about this house that people are taking photos in that they live in. It's not really their house, but we're comparing ourselves to something that we don't really know.
Yes.
So when we stop doing that, and it's hard, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I look at stuff that I post and I'm like, only 3 likes, what the hell? And then other times I'm like, oh, cool. Like, you know, so I get it. It's human nature. We want to be liked. We want our information to resonate with people. But I think at the end of the day, fundamentally for me, it's having a vision for how I want to feel in my days, and then making decisions on opportunities and new endeavors based on, will that take me closer or further away from it?
I love that. I love that.
This is a natural lead-in. Tell us, what do you have on your plate right now? I know that you have the Academy. You run some killer Facebook groups. You got a published book and another book coming out. Exciting. We will definitely dive into more detail on that. But tell us everything that you find passion in your week that you do.
I will tell you, it all really comes down to one thing. I am hugely passionate about helping other people accomplish what it is that they want to accomplish, whether it's the real estate agents that come to us that are looking for support, and my coordinators that work in my coordinating company support them, whether it's my coordinators who are wanting an opportunity to work from home and to deliver service to, you know, great clients, you know, it's supporting them in that. It's the Academy, you know, creating information that can help people either learn the skill or learn to take that skill of a TC and make it into a business. My coaching, it really all kind of is around the same belief that, you know, whatever it is that we want to do is possible. Sometimes we need a little hand holding, we need a little encouraging, we need a little support, but it's knowing that in all of those places that I'm blessed enough to be able to help people accomplish whatever it is that they're wanting. Yeah.
Take us down the beginning of when you said, I'm going to write a book, and bring us through that process.
Well, honestly, the first book I started writing, I can't even remember how many years before I actually put it out into public. I wrote that book, I put it together, I had it edited a good year before I actually put it out there. So what ended up happening though, however, with that was a lot of people who wanted to be TCs found it and then read it and said, can you teach me? Can you mentor me? So it morphed into something that I had no intention of it morphing into, which then led to the Academy. But the second book that I wrote, which is coming out March 25th, my birthday.
Oh my gosh, mine's March 24th.
Birthday. You're the 24th?
Yes.
Yay, Aries. But the second book, you know, it's almost sort of the same thing. I started writing, and I would write a little bit here and a little bit there. And it wasn't until I hired a mentor editor to say, to make myself accountable to actually getting it finished. I mean, I've been working on that book for probably the better part of 2 years. A little here, a little there.
Yeah.
It was an idea, but I wasn't committed to it until I brought somebody in to help me through the process. So
what is the second book about?
Business in general, and sort of my story and my experience, and more specifically, not the nuts and bolts of getting a pretty website. Here's how you brand yourself. It's it's called Glitter, Duct Tape and Magic. And the reason I chose that is that my business and my life, but my business there's been a lot of sparkly times. There's been a lot of times it's been held together with duct tape. And there's been a lot of magical moments, things that I really can't explain how they happened, or there's been a belief in something bigger than me that has pulled me through situations. And so that's the magic. And it's a business book about I think it's really how to be like authentic in your business, how to not leave yourself at the door when you go into your workplace, but really how to embrace all of those elements and know that, just because somebody writes a book that says, oh, I've got it all figured out, just do my 5 easy steps, you don't really get to see like the 85,000 steps that took them to get there. This is sort of this is a little bit of the steps that it took to get there. I want people to see it is possible, but there's a little bit of a mess getting there. Right now, we'll have it on Amazon on March 25th. If they are friends with me on Facebook or follow me on Facebook or over at the Transaction Coordinator Academy, it'll also we'll announce a release as well.
Fantastic. I love that. I'm excited. I love that name. That is just,
I know.
Got me right there.
Yep.
I put it out on my Facebook page, but you can actually see it there. That's
I love that.
Yeah. Sparkle.
That's fantastic. So obviously that's very exciting. That's a huge thing happening in 2020. What can we see and expect from you 2020, 2021, 2022? What do you have on the horizon?
What do I have on the horizon? So I have, I've really adapted this belief, what I want to call soul-crafted success. And I think it ties back into the authenticity, but I think it also ties back into being less worried about what others think, and really focusing on what works for you, what works for your family, what works for where you are in your life at that time. And for some people, that's working a few hours, a few days a week, and that brings them joy and happiness because they have a family they want to be around. For others, it's something bigger and better. And I think that my vision for, the next few years is to really help people, anybody who wants it, to tap back into why they were driven in the first place to start a business, and then to really reconnect in a way that will allow them to show up each and every day like that, so that they're, feeling good about what they're doing, not just the service or the product they're putting out, but they're feeling good about their life in general.
I love that.
Yeah.
So for somebody that doesn't know you, Michelle, and shame on them, but don't know you and know what you do, what resources do you provide for people?
My company, we have a transaction coordinating company, so there's definitely that. I also coach and mentor transaction coordinators in our community that are in various different places in their business. At the Academy, I have 2 online courses that I created. One to train people how to be a TC, and the other how to make a business of it, because they're really kind of 2 different paths. And of course, my new book has opened some new opportunities for coaching people outside of the real estate space.
That's what I was going to say, is for those of you who are listening, and not taking away from your TC experience or expertise in any way, shape, or form, but to have a conversation with Michelle as a female business owner, that is incredible. I love that space, because there are very few people that will tell you, just like you were saying, the mess, right? The duct tape. we all want the glitter and the magic. Like we just want it, like, look at this beautiful little box. And what they don't understand is the blood, sweat, and tears and the screaming fits and the this isn't fair. And that's something that I value and see you spreading more into, that is that business, you know, that female entrepreneurial, you know, because it is a different perspective. And this is something we've shared before. There is something different about running a business when you go, oh, and I got to pick the kids up after school, and then I got to get to hockey, and then I got to get to this, but oh, I still have to have that really important conversation with that employee because they're struggling. Yeah. It's different. It just is, you know, and you have to approach it in a different manner. And so I'm really excited to see the new offerings that you have coming out this year, not just for TCs, but also for just women entrepreneurs out there. Yeah.
You know, I will tell you, some of my best thinking moments come folding laundry. Because I'm not at my desk and I'm not thinking about business. I'm just, and then all of a sudden, like, whoosh, like I wouldn't have those opportunities if I wasn't working at home.
Yeah.
So rather than, you know, sort of be frustrated by the situation that we've created, you know, find ways to be happy about that and make the best of it. And then know that if it's not working, I think that was the biggest lesson for me. I had created a mess early on because of a belief system I had and what I brought to it, thinking it needed to look corporate-y, and then realized, oh, wait a minute, but I can change it too.
Yes.
And there's so much power in that. So, you know, rather than being frustrated that I have to fold the laundry or whatever, I'm like, this is cool. It's like 2:00 and I'm still in my yoga pants and I'm folding laundry. You know, I'm not doing it on the weekend when I'd rather play. So embracing it all.
Well, I appreciate this, my friend.
Thanks, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Talk to you. Have a good one.